I met her on Tinder, and our first date was as awkward as they come. Her name was Emily, and her profile picture had that enchanting smile that drew me in. We decided to meet at a quaint coffee shop on a chilly winter evening. As I arrived, I couldn't help but feel a shiver run down my spine. Emily looked nothing like her photos. Her eyes, once so warm in the pictures, seemed vacant and cold, but I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was just first date jitters. We exchanged pleasantries over coffee, but something felt off. She spoke in a hushed, almost whispering tone, and her words were elusive, as if she was hiding something. I grew increasingly uncomfortable, but I didn't want to be rude, so I invited her back to my place. As we stepped into my dimly lit apartment, I offered her a drink. She accepted, and I went to the kitchen to fetch it. When I returned, I couldn't find her. Panic set in as I called out her name, but there was no response. I searched the rooms, my heart pounding like a drum. Then I heard a soft giggle coming from my bedroom. I pushed the door open, and there she was, standing in the corner, her eyes locked on the wall. She turned to me and smiled, but there was something malevolent in her expression that sent a shiver down my spine. "Emily, what are you doing?" I stammered. She just continued to smile and didn't reply. Something was seriously wrong, and I needed her to leave. I decided to block her on Tinder after she left, convinced that I just had a bizarre and unsettling experience. But that's when things took a nightmarish turn. I woke up the next morning to find my phone missing. Panic surged through me. I searched my entire apartment, but it was nowhere to be found. The door to my bedroom was left slightly ajar, and I had an uneasy feeling that something was amiss. With trepidation, I pushed the door open, and the room was plunged into darkness. My phone's screen faintly illuminated a corner. I reached for it, and as its glow intensified, I was confronted with a series of horrifying photos and messages. The pictures were of me, taken while I was asleep. Emily's messages were increasingly disturbing, with references to things I'd never shared with her. It was as if she knew my deepest, darkest secrets. Fear gripped me, and I decided to call the police. But my phone is suddenly dead. The room fell into complete darkness. In the blackness, I could hear soft, deliberate breathing. Someone was in the room with me. Terror overcame me, and I fumbled for the bedroom door. I slammed it shut behind me and locked it. My heart pounded as I contemplated my next move. With trembling hands, I called 911 on my landline and explained the situation to the operator. Within minutes, the police arrived. They searched the room and found no one, but they were able to trace the disturbing messages back to an IP address. It belonged to Emily, or whoever she really was. They assured me they would investigate further. As I sat there, my nerves still on edge, I couldn't help but feel like I was being watched. The police left, and I was left to ponder the terrifying events of that night. I changed the locks and triple-checked my security settings. My advice to anyone using dating apps is simple: be cautious. If things start to feel wrong, don't ignore the warning signs. Your safety should always come first, because you never know who might be lurking in the shadows, waiting to shatter your sense of security. I had always been a skeptic when it came to online dating, but my curiosity got the best of me when I stumbled upon an intriguing profile on the Hot or Not app. Her name was Emily, and her pictures were simply mesmerizing. With striking blue eyes and a captivating smile, she seemed like the embodiment of my dream girl. We exchanged messages, and soon enough, we were making plans to meet in person. The day came, and my excitement was mixed with nervous anticipation. Emily had given me her address, and I punched it into my GPS. The directions led me to a quiet suburban neighborhood where the houses were neat and the streets empty. As I pulled up to the address, I noticed that the house was oddly deserted, with an eerie silence hanging in the air. Something didn't feel right, but I shook off the unease, attributing it to first date jitters. I rang the doorbell, and a moment later, a middle-aged man with a solemn expression opened the door. His eyes bore a sense of sorrow that sent shivers down my spine. I stammered, "Is Emily home?" The man's voice was measured and somber as he replied, "I'm her neighbor. Emily isn't here." My heart sank, and I couldn't hide my disappointment. I had been excited about this date, and the thought of getting stood up was disheartening. "Are you sure?" I asked, my voice quivering. The neighbor's face hardened as he said, "I'm very sure. Emily isn't here because she passed away 2 years ago." My blood ran cold as his words echoed in my mind. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "This can't be," I protested. "We've been talking for weeks. She gave me this address." The neighbor's gaze remained unwavering. "I don't know who you've been talking to, but it's not Emily. She's been gone for a while." Panic surged through me as I realized the gravity of the situation. My heart raced as I contemplated the implications. The person I had been conversing with wasn't Emily, and I had no idea who they really were. I thanked the neighbor for his honesty and quickly left, feeling a deep sense of dread and betrayal. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was consumed by questions. Who had I been talking to? What did they want with me? I couldn't shake off the eerie feeling that I was being watched. Days turned into weeks, and I couldn't find any answers. The fake Emily had vanished, and I was left to wonder about the sinister game someone had played on me. I deleted the app, but the unease remained. The story of my ghostly encounter on Hot or Not became a cautionary tale among my friends. They warned me about the dangers of online dating, and I could only nod in agreement. My advice to you, the listener, is to be cautious. Never take things at face value when you're dealing with strangers on the internet. The virtual world may hold mysteries you can't even begin to fathom, and sometimes they can be far more chilling than any ghost story. I met Maria on a dating app, a high school classmate I hadn't seen in years. She was smart, beautiful, and our conversations flowed effortlessly. We decided to meet at my place, the old memories mingling with excitement. I eagerly awaited her arrival, but what was supposed to be a simple reunion turned into a nightmare. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I prepared my apartment, nervously checking my appearance in the mirror. That's when I received a message from Maria asking for my address, claiming she had misplaced it. Without much thought, I shared it, eager to see her again. The minutes dragged on, and unease began to gnaw at my gut. Maria was running late, which wasn't unusual, but this felt different. As I scrolled through her profile to find her number, a chilling realization set in. Her profile had vanished. She had unmatched me. Panic seized me, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. I tried calling her, but the number was disconnected. Fear gripped me as I realized the truth. I'd been catfished. I glanced at the clock. My parents were away, and my little sister was asleep in her room. I was alone, and my pulse quickened when I heard footsteps outside. Someone was coming towards my door. It couldn't be Maria. We'd never exchanged our exact addresses. My mind raced, and I knew I had to call the police, but before I could dial, a scream from my sister's room pierced the air. I rushed to her side, my heart dropping as I saw her trembling form. She pointed to her window, and terror froze me in place. There, in the darkness, was a figure staring in, their eyes fixed on us. I grabbed my sister and dialed 911, my voice trembling as I described the situation. The dispatcher assured me that help was on the way, but it felt like an eternity. I locked the bedroom door, fear clawing at my throat as the intruder's footsteps grew louder. Minutes passed, like hours, and finally I heard sirens approaching. The intruder must have realized the police were on their way, for I heard him mutter something chilling. "I can smell you, I'll be back." The police arrived, and they apprehended the intruder, a deranged man with a history of stalking. As they arrested him, they told me that he'd been watching our house for weeks, having somehow learned my address through my online interactions. It sent shivers down my spine. The night ended, but the fear lingered. I learned a crucial lesson about online safety and the dangers of sharing personal information. My family and I were safe, but the terror of that night haunted me. To anyone listening, never underestimate the dangers of online interactions. Prioritize your safety above all else. You never know who might be lurking behind the screen, and the horrors that await in the real world are far more chilling than any catfish.